afternoon. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem and the offering of the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. We begin this festive ceremony, O God, grateful for this day when we as a university pause to celebrate these students. We give thanks for each of them. Today we acknowledge the work of these students and their achievement of this major goal. We know in these years they have faced adversity, have overcome obstacles, have persevered, and indeed flourished. We recognize before you, O God, what they have invested, what they have gained, and what they have contributed, and who they have become while in community with us, and we are proud of them. As they receive their medallions and hoods today, prepare them for the next step in their profession at an exciting and challenging time in this nation and in the global community. Empower them to use wisely the gifts with which they were born and the intellectual and physical tools that they have worked hard to acquire while at Methodist University. Strengthen and inspire them that they may contribute to the next community, the next place that they call home, and that they may use their privilege to be about the work of your kingdom, and when possible, to be the voice of change for the voiceless. On this day, however, O Lord, allow them to simply breathe and enjoy this moment. Guide us now, O God, with joy, strength, and peace through this ceremony and throughout our lives. Amen. You may be seated.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 Methodist University Spring Graduate Commencement. I'm Stan Worden, President of Methodist University. Congratulations, graduates. I'm so very proud of your accomplishments. Not only have you completed challenging and important degree programs, but you've done so during a difficult time in human history. I hope you see in yourselves what I see in you, a deep reservoir of strength, character, compassion. These are qualities that will serve you for a lifetime of success. I also want to briefly mention 4 other important values, which are the pillars of the Methodist University mission: truth, virtue, justice, and love. To the degree that you choose these values and continue to live by them, they also will serve you for a lifetime. Truth means 2 things to me. First, we are better off when we unfailingly tell the truth, when we don't try to hide or cover for ourselves. Even though the short-term consequences can be painful at times, over the long term, those who tell the truth earn trust. Second, we're also better off when we relentlessly pursue truth, even when it makes us uncomfortable. A commitment to truth over personal opinion or preferences is what advances both human knowledge and science, both of which are crucial to human thriving. A commitment to virtue is manifest in a clearly developed set of professional and personal ethics, rooted in critical moral thought. A virtuous person recognizes that almost any decision or action contains ethical questions that must be answered in good faith and consistent with one's own principles. A virtuous person gains credibility by always working to do what is right rather than by taking shortcuts. The pursuit of justice is embedded in the founding values of this nation. Our national pledge ends with a statement of allegiance to the ideal of liberty and justice for all. A commitment to justice makes life fairer and more equitable for everyone, ensures that everyone has both equal protection under the law and equal opportunity. A just society is, in fact, a society of opportunity. And finally, we have our commitment to love. We can love people, ideas, our work, even organizations for which we work. At its root, love is an action-based decision we must make every day. And when we decide to actively love the people in our lives, the work we do, the organizations that employ us, the places where we live, and the ideals by which we live, we find that we're living for something greater and more important than just ourselves. Through love, we find our life's calling and our life's joy. Take these values with you, along with your work ethic and perseverance, and you are assured of success in life. So remember this time. Remember each other and the faculty and staff of Methodist University who care so much and have worked so hard for you. Remember your families and friends who've made many sacrifices so you may have a better life. Remember your alma mater with pride and love, because that is how your alma mater will remember you. Graduates, I'm proud of you. Now I ask everyone to join me in applauding this remarkable group of Methodist University graduates. Thank you. Now, graduates, I ask you to rise and turn toward your loved ones, your faculty, and our staff who've joined you in celebration here today and express your gratitude to them for all they've done to support you and help ensure your success. Thank you. Please be seated. Let me now introduce the members of the platform party, and I'll ask them to rise and remain standing as I say their names. Mr. Tim Richardson, Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost. Mr. Michael Nagowski, our commencement speaker. The Reverend Kelly Taylor, University Chaplain. Dr. Patricia Fecker, Associate Provost. Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health, Sciences, and Human Services. Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies. And Dr. J.R. Hustwit, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Sciences. Please be seated. It's now my privilege to introduce today's commencement speaker, Mr. Michael Nagowski, Chief Executive Officer of Cape Fear Valley Health System. In his role as Chief Executive Officer of Cape Fear Valley Health System, Mike oversees an 8-hospital integrated health system serving 4 distinct markets with annual revenues of more than $1 billion. He has held his current position since 2008. Prior to joining Cape Fear Valley, Mike held executive healthcare positions at Buffalo General Hospital, Millard Fillmore Gates Circle Hospital, Erie County Medical Center, Hammett Medical Center, and the University at Buffalo School of Medicine. Mike is a highly capable person at hospital financial planning and stewardship, hospital innovation and growth, development, and implementation of quality care improvement initiatives. Mike's done an extraordinary job in his role as CEO of Cape Fear. Most recently, he has led Cape Fear Valley Health into its partnership with Methodist University, with the commitment to open the new Methodist University School of Medicine with a new state-of-the-art facility at the Cape Fear Valley campus in Fayetteville. Yeah, that's worthy of applause. Mike has led the health system to earn numerous quality care recognitions from U.S. News & World Report, Leapfrog, IBM Watson, and the Joint Commission. Looking ahead, he will continue to focus on Cape Fear Valley Health System's journey toward academic medical center status, population health excellence, and health system innovation. Mike earned his bachelor's degree in computer science, summa cum laude, from Park College, his master's in business administration from St. Bonaventure University, magna cum laude. He is a United States Marine Corps veteran and lives in our community with his wife, Kim. They have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming my good friend, Mr. Mike Nagowski.
Good afternoon. Dr. Warden and the leadership of the school, thank you for having me here today. It's an honor to be here before the university leadership and the student body. Let me start by saying welcome. To the graduates, we're here to celebrate with you. This commencement marks a tremendous accomplishment on the start of your next journey. To the families, loved ones, and friends of the graduates, thank you for the support you provided to these graduates. For many of them, that support meant more than you'll ever know. To the Methodist University leadership, the educators, support teams, thank you for dedicating your careers to these graduates and their success. To our community, thank you for ensuring that this thriving university is here and able to provide and allow these graduates to pursue their passions. Graduates, in order to accomplish what you have done, it required you to make sacrifices and demonstrate perseverance and dedication. Juggling multiple responsibilities, financial implications, work life, home life, all of this under the best of circumstances makes university challenging. Now, let's filter in real life and what you've lived through for the past few years, and what you've accomplished is nothing short of remarkable. Adapting and overcoming the challenges that you were presented with was something few others have ever had to overcome. During this pandemic, and boy, I hope it's a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, many of you saw your lives disrupted in ways we never envisioned. The health of our community, our country, the world was turned upside down. And on many days, we were glued to our news outlets. What we saw and heard and experienced often left us with more questions than answers. So much of it was the unknown. We knew that people were getting sick, and many passed from COVID. Remember, during the first year of the pandemic, we had so very little in the way of tools to fight back. We used isolation, curfews, masking. After the first year, we finally had a vaccine, and things started to get a little bit better, but we continued to deal with waves of the virus. Jobs evaporated, some temporarily, some forever. How do you keep yourself and your family going without adequate employment? Many of you dealt with family situations. Perhaps you have children who are no longer able to go to school or daycare. Now, how do you make sure they're cared for and they keep learning? Perhaps you had family members such as parents or grandparents that you're responsible for. How do you keep them safe during a pandemic? I saw this up close. Some of you may know, my mother-in-law lives with my family in my home. It's okay, we love Mom. I saw the look, No, we love Mom. But as you can imagine, this brought another layer of concern to my family. How do we keep our mom, who's in her 70s, safe during a pandemic? We also have a 15-year-old daughter in the house and young grandchildren who we're blessed to have over all the time. What do we do when our daughter or grandchildren go to school and come home? Will they bring the virus home to my mother or to my wife who's immunocompromised? I'll never forget my family celebrating Christmas morning 2020 through a glass storm door. My wife, our daughter Tori, and Mom were on the porch outside while my daughter, her husband, and our grandchildren were inside the house because the grandchildren had been exposed, and we couldn't take a chance of exposing and spreading COVID throughout the family. What happens in the world happens inside the four walls of your university. And despite all of that, despite what was happening in the world, you adapted and you overcame. We learned more about online learning than ever before. We adapted to novel teaching methods. Our ability to lean on our colleagues wasn't the same as it was before. We leaned towards isolation and separation. This is one of my favorites. We learned that to Zoom does not mean to go fast. It means to conduct an online meeting. And sometimes kind of slow because that one guy can't figure out how to get off of mute. Those were all the types of situations we found ourselves in. And all the while you dealt with the pandemic, you persevered, you stayed determined, and now look what you've achieved, graduate degrees. As the world and your job markets change, and they will change, you have learned to adapt and change. This is what will make you stronger and more valuable to yourself, to your family, the work you choose, and to your community. Now that you've reached this achievement and are prepared for the next journey, I'd like to challenge the graduates to not only take the technical skills you've learned, but to take the other things you've learned into the world so that the next time you see someone dealing with change, show them the kindness and empathy that you received and wanted. The experiences you learned on your way to this commencement not only make you more qualified than others that have come before you to adapt to change, I truly believe that it makes you more qualified to support others as they adapt to change. I believe that your support of others and your demonstration of kindness and empathy towards them will ultimately be your greatest contribution. Now, as a healthcare administrator, and with so many of the graduates today entering the healthcare field, I have to say, to those healthcare graduates, I feel as though you've chosen perhaps the most noblest of fields. To dedicate yourself to others is to put them before yourself. I hope you only grow the excitement and passion you have for healthcare today and putting others first. It's been my passion for the last 30 years, and I am so thankful to God and to my family for putting me where I am. To the entire Methodist University Graduate School class of 2023, go forth with all you've learned. Adapt fearlessly to the challenges of the world around you and make lasting impact in your communities. Congratulations and best luck on your journey ahead. Thank you for having me here today.
Mike, thank you very much for your words and for your graciousness in speaking with our graduates today. It is our great honor to have you serve as the speaker at our graduation ceremony. The Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters is conferred by Methodist University to those who have distinguished themselves through humanitarian and/or philanthropic contributions to society and to the university. Mike Nagowski's extensive service to civic, cultural, and economic development, to his profession, to education, and to this community demonstrate that he has earned this distinction. At this time, I would like to ask Mike to come forward, as well as Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost, and Mr. Tim Richardson, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, to assist with the hooding. For his vision, leadership, and devotion to the well-being of his family, colleagues, and community, Methodist University bestows upon Mike Nagowski the degree of Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters, given in Fayetteville, North Carolina, this 5th day of May in the year 2023 at the Spring Graduate Commencement Ceremony at Methodist University. And now, the time we've all been waiting for, the awarding of degrees. Before we acknowledge the graduates by conferring the degrees and reading their names, we ask the audience to be respectful during this formal ceremony and refrain from applause and noises that would limit the ability of the audience to hear the names of other graduates. So let's applaud the graduates again as a group now, and then one final time after all the degrees have been conferred. For the awarding of academic degrees, Provost Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dr. Tat Chan, and Dr. J.R. Hustwit will assist me. Mr. Tim Richardson, Vice Chair of our Board of Trustees, will congratulate our graduates as they leave the stage. Dr. Blum-Malley.
Graduation is a special occasion not only in the lives of our graduates, but also in the lives of parents, spouses, children, relatives, and friends. Thank you all for all that you have done to make this day possible. It is also a time of celebration for the Methodist University professors and staff who've taught and supported our students throughout their MU journeys. We are thrilled to see you earn your degrees today and look forward to following your future successes. For our commencement ceremony today, graduates have invited persons important to them to serve as sponsors who will join them on stage and set their commencement hoods in place. We will first present candidates for degree conferral by degree, and then proceed to calling candidates and sponsors to the stage by degree level and college. Again, we ask that you hold your applause until the last graduate has left the stage. Today, Methodist University is graduating 64 graduate students who have successfully completed all requirements for the respective degrees. Congratulations to our May 2023 graduates. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Occupational Therapy please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Occupational Therapy?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Occupational Therapy with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Physical Therapy please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Physical Therapy?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Physical Therapy with all the privileges, rights, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Business Administration please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Business Administration?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Business Administration with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Health Administration please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidate for the degree of Master of Health Administration?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Health Administration with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Medical Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidate for the degree of Master of Medical Science?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Medical Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. We can give them all a round of applause. Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward candidates for the Doctor of Occupational Therapy and Doctor of Physical Therapy degrees. Dean Hoyt.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Occupational Therapy, please come forward. Brianne Avery, sponsored by Sharon Scott, her mother. Mary Blake Avery, sponsored by Molly Avery, her mother. Paige Barham, sponsored by Lisa Jackson, her fiance. Mary Boylan, sponsored by Terry Boylan, her father. Cameron Cook, sponsored by Adam Cook, her brother. Holly Evans, sponsored by Gloria Evans, her mother. Jennifer Gerst, sponsored by Jim Gerst, her father. Olivia Giles, sponsored by Chuck Giles, her father. Alicia Danielle Gresham, sponsored by Rosa Marie Gray, her mother. Lauren Hadley, sponsored by Matthew Lee, her spouse. Paige Hill, sponsored by Eli Clapp, her fiance. Joanna Holloman, sponsored by Brandon Holloman, her spouse. Catherine Johnson, sponsored by Houston Johnson, her spouse. Kendall Lahr, sponsored by Jonathan Martin, her spouse. Madison Love, sponsored by Carla Clay, her grandmother. Ikra Malik, sponsored by Humad Malik, her brother. Caroline Matthews, sponsored by Tammy Matthews, her mother. Brittany Preston, sponsored by Toshiko Preston, her mother. Virginia Savage, sponsored by Collier Frick, her sister. Samantha Styron, sponsored by Jordy Jenkins, her fiance. Mary Grace Tyndall, sponsored by Tyler Tyndall, her husband. Alexandria Wallace, sponsored by Preston Wallace, her husband. Madison Walton, sponsored by Abby Walton, her twin sister. Natalie Wright, sponsored by Austin Wright, her spouse. Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Physical Therapy. Taylor Amon, sponsored by Carol Amon, her mother. Mackenzie Anderson, sponsored by Brenda Anderson, her mother. Sarah Asif, sponsored by Sarah Asif, her mother. Annabelle Bailey's, sponsored by Cameron Bailey's, her spouse. Aaron Bradley, sponsored by Robert Bradley, his father. Dalton Bray, sponsored by James Bray, his father. Morgan Davidson, sponsored by Dr. Becky Helms, Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy. Hannah Donnelly Glave, sponsored by Jennifer Donnelly, her mother. Sydney Eanes, sponsored by Philip Workheiser, her friend. Greer Edens, sponsored by Dr. Mika Mitchell, Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy. Arlie Etherton, sponsored by Arlie Etherton, his father. Hannah Gamble, sponsored by Lisa Gamble, her mother. Brett Garstick, sponsored by Dr. Becky Helms, Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy. Andrea Getz, sponsored by Dr. Blake Justice, her friend. Joseph Griffith, sponsored by Jordan Griffith, his spouse. Elisa Grunwald Farrell, sponsored by Shay Farrell, her spouse. Ryan Hill, sponsored by Wade Brown, his grandfather. Jordan Jackson, sponsored by Retha Wilson, her mother. Jack Lundy, sponsored by Vincent Lundy, his brother. Alec Mahachek, sponsored by Sarah Mahachek, his spouse. Amaya Mapp, sponsored by Trevor Mapp, her spouse. Haley Martin, sponsored by Talia Martin, her sister. Janae Mays, sponsored by Greg Chauvin, her spouse. Matthew Mills, sponsored by Robert Mills, his father. Sydney Parker, sponsored by Megan Core, her sister. Jennifer Patetta, sponsored by Trish Patetta, her mother. Patrick Porter, sponsored by Kaylin Porter, his sister. Keely Price, sponsored by Austin Price, her husband. Spencer Ray, sponsored by Brittany Ray, his wife. Blake Risher, sponsored by Dr. Mika Mitchell, Assistant Professor, Physical Therapy. Ravijit Singh, sponsored by Aran Singh, his brother. Max Strickler, sponsored by Margaret Strickler, his spouse. Leah Thayer, sponsored by Lisa Jean Thayer, her mother. Hannah Walter, sponsored by Morgan Walter, her sister. Heather White, sponsored by Anthony Leal, her father. Preston Wright, sponsored by Sarah Wright, his spouse.
Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies, will call candidates for the Master of Business Administration.
Spencer Nelson, sponsored by Sharon Nelson, his mother. Austin Skipper, sponsored by Chad Skipper, his father.
Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward candidates for the Master of Health Administration and Master of Medical Science degrees.
Candidate for the Master of Health Administration, William Frith, sponsored by Amanda Taylor, his sister. Candidate for the degree of Master of Medical Science, Ronald Hyduke, sponsored by Grace Hyduke, his wife.
Let's give them all a round of applause.
There's one final very important task we must complete. Will the graduates please rise? So I know some of you don't have movable tassels, so you're going to have to fake it. But grasp your tassel with your hand and move it from one side to the other side of your mortarboard. Congratulations. Please be seated, graduates. Congratulations again, graduates, family members, and friends. This is a significant achievement, and it will change your lives in many, many ways, both tangible and intangible. A recent large national study revealed that Methodist University is among the top 16% of U.S. colleges and universities in terms of the social mobility of its graduates. We hope you've had a wonderful experience at Methodist University. You're now joining an elite group, the alumni of this great university. Your MU journey extends beyond today, beyond commencement. We hope your journey will bring you back to us as successful and engaged alumni, successful in your chosen careers, and engaged in your communities and with your university and with your families. This is your university today, and it will always be your university. So stay in touch, share your accomplishments with us, stay involved. This is a great institution, and as we all work to make it even better, we will need your help. At this time, I invite you to rise and join in the singing of the Alma Mater, performed by the Methodist University Chorale under the direction of Dr. Michael Martin. Following the Alma Mater, please remain standing for the benediction. Following the benediction, please remain in your places until the completion of the academic recessional. Photos may be taken on the south side of the lobby or outside. And I encourage you to remain for the baccalaureate service at 4:30 p.m. in the chapel. Congratulations again, graduates, and Godspeed as you set out on the next leg of your journey.
As you go forth today, hear this benediction. Lord, pour your blessing on these, your children. Guide, gift, and protect them. And turn your face toward them and grant them your peace, now and forever. Amen.